Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to the Galactic Astrology podcast. My name is Ursula O'Farrell with the Ascension Playground, and I'm joined today by the co host of the podcast, Julia Balaz. Hey, Julia. As many of you know, Julia is the creator and founder of what's called the Quantum Soul Guidance Practitioner's Course. And today we are so excited. We get to celebrate the graduation of our newest practitioner, Susan DeLeo, who is based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So, congratulations, Susan, and welcome, ladies. Yay!
Thank you. Hello. Thank you.
This
Awesome.
is such an auspicious moment as we've got the Galactic Center, we've got the winter solstice, we have these energetics where the shifting of the energy is just palpable. I don't know how you ladies are finding it to be with your dream time and waking time, but to be able to celebrate Susan's graduation today just feels very auspicious. What do you think, Julia?
Oh, definitely. And I find it so interesting, so amazing how things divinely align. Suzanne's midheaven, MC, is conjunct Galactic Center. So her natal midheaven, the part in our astrology that shows us how we serve the world, how we show up in the world. And it's conjunct Galactic Center. Isn't that so
Yeah,
amazing?
it
is.
very cool. Yeah. The orchestration of divine timing, right? We didn't know, we just were feeling and tuning into it. And before we get going, here's a shout out to the great work of Dolores Cannon. So, Julia, we know that you've trained in QHHT, the quantum healing hypnosis technique. And the reason I'm calling out Dolores Cannon is because unbeknownst to her, when she started doing these past life regressions, so much of the galactic stories, the idea that we've not just been human in our lifetimes, that there's been the stories of the stars, and there's lessons to be learned as we all navigate and move forward. And so much of what you're bringing forward through this Galactic Practitioner's course is to enable and allow people like Susan, yourself, and myself to be able to put some of the tea leaves together to help one come into a broader understanding of really who you are, knowing thyself. We'd love to know a little bit about your past because when I visited your amazing website, I saw you've studied as a nurse, you've studied art in Boston, you're into crystals, astrology, the galactic, vibrational healing. And it's no accident that you've recently relocated to New Mexico. So tell us a little bit about your story, Susan.
Well, let's see. When I was a child, I was very sensitive and felt like I didn't really belong here. I felt the most alive and the most myself when I was in nature. And I used to spend a lot of time in nature as a kid. And I would have a lot of, I guess I was having mystical experiences. I was talking to the trees and the spirits and making stone circles in the woods. I used to just naturally do that kind of thing. And then when I was like 15 or 16, I studied transcendental meditation. And I was always drawn to India and also to Native American spirituality. And I actually lived in an ashram for a while in New York State. And that was interesting. But there was a guru there. And so I always had this, yearning and drive for spirituality. And then I ended up going to nursing school, but that wasn't really the best fit because I just found it kind of too conventional. And I ended up then leaving that and going to art school. And I really loved that. And I studied music also. And I'm still a musician and I make films. I'm an experimental filmmaker. I did, had some issues growing up. It wasn't always that easy. So I did seek out a lot of astrologers and a lot of healers. So I ended up studying polarity therapy, which is a really interesting hands-on healing modality, but it also incorporates crystals and working with the aura and the chakras. And I did that. And I studied shaman journeying, and I joined a shamanic circle in Boston. I really love the shamanic stuff. And I used to travel a lot to New Mexico. And I felt like, oh, this is my spiritual home. Well, all of the Southwest, actually. And I started having, when I was doing the polarity, I was having a lot of psychic experiences where my dreams would start coming true. I had a lot of things like that. And that was very interesting. So I always had that kind of thing. Lots of visions and that sort of thing. And let's see, about 6 or 7 years ago, I was doing some journeying in a circle with other people. And I did a journey to the upper world, it's called, and I was met by these very high beings. They were light beings. They were very tall. And they would bring me off to these crystal caves and show me things. And I asked them who they were. And they said they were Arcturians. And I had never heard that before because I wasn't really into the galactic stuff. So I actually Googled that. And, and there they were, the Arcturian. There's all kinds of books written about them, and which confirmed a lot of the things I experienced with them. So I was like, my mind and everything was opening up to the galactic. And then I used to listen to Pam Gregory and Barbara Heather Ensworth a lot. And there I saw Julia on both of those. And I thought, oh, I really want to get a reading with her. But she wasn't doing any more readings. So I decided to take her class. And it's just been incredible since then.
What an incredible validation to our theory about these greater or deeper cosmic points like Super Galactic Center, Galactic Center, the Great Attractor, Shapley Attractor. You actually have all of them conjuncting several of your planets. I probably haven't seen a chart that has so many conjunct alignments to these major cosmic points. So with your permission, I'll just share your Pluto, first of all, conjunct Regulus, Leo constellation. I find it interesting that your surname, DeLeo, is it's like sometimes it leaves the little clues in our own name about certain connections from before. But anyway, your Neptune is conjunct Shapley Attractor. Your Jupiter is conjunct Super Galactic Center. Venus conjunct Shapley Attractor. Mercury conjunct the Great Attractor. Midheaven conjunct Galactic Center. Moon conjunct Super Galactic Center. So, and these are very tight alignments. They're not like, 5 degrees orb. These are like within 1 degree. So I find it so fascinating to hear your story and receive this life-lived validation about how these points, when they're aligned to our natal planets, they really make us wired as a multidimensional being, really in tune with cosmos, not just being very in tune of what's going on in the room around you or the space around you, but this is much, much bigger. It almost feels as there is no physical boundary at all. You're completely merged with so much. So it can be very overwhelming, I presume, in earlier years. And I'm glad that you were able to be on that extraordinary journey of, seeking the truth, looking for deeper meaning, and just finding tools to help you navigate the way of being, because you're really wired like not too many people. So I just want to say, if people don't necessarily have these alignments, it's not an easy path. Like it's not an easy path at all. But I'm so glad that you are here at this point. And I am curious how it was for you to see these cosmic points and the royal stars in your astrology. Did it help you make more sense to why you are the way you are and how you perceive reality?
Yes, very much so. Incredible. It's like, wow, okay, now it kind of makes sense. It wasn't easy growing up. and I did have a lot of issues. But I always felt like I was plugged into something else. When I was 12 years old, I was reading those Jane Robert books, those books about channeling and stuff. I guess I feel like it's easy for me to plug in to altered states, and I actually really enjoy that kind of thing. And I like that word transmission, direct transmission. I feel like I've, been able to do that, like maybe like channel, like it kind of comes very natural, that kind of.
I witnessed that
always
when I watched your client's report that you submitted for the certification process. It was obvious that there is a level of channeling there. So such a blessing to be an anchor for that.
Yeah. And it's interesting with the Regulus too, because I do feel like kind of like a natural healer, like that comes kind of easy sort of thing. What doesn't come easy is like what didn't come easy was being on the earth. That wasn't easy for me. Just feeling a lot of pain, everyone's pain, and it's so dense and that kind of thing. So that's why I think being in nature, I was always so drawn to it, because it was very pure vibration, and grounding at the same time. So so it's taken me quite a while to work this out, being on this earth, but I think I'm getting the hang of it now.
Yeah, I want to
stay plugged in daily.
I want to ask you what it feels like when you are in service there for your client and information comes through, in comparison to when you are living your everyday life circumstances. The reason why I'm asking is that I feel that people that are like you, very tapped into cosmic consciousness and able to naturally, with quite ease and effortlessness, channel messages that are most appropriate for people to help them evolve. I suppose when you're in that mode of channeling and in service to another, it must feel very good and just natural and like, yes, this is the right place to be. Whereas I personally almost feel like out of place if I am in social gatherings or elsewhere where this is not allowed, where I just kind of have to be almost feel like, I don't know, lost. But exactly. Service, it feels so good. Do you have that too?
Yes. And that's why it was very hard for me to be a nurse, because I felt like this isn't, this whole system, is not quite right. Like I wanted to be, doing more vibrational kinds of healing, that kind of thing. I definitely feel at home. Also with art and music, that it really helps me, because it's all vibration, high vibration. So that these things are what really make me feel like, oh, it's like easy to be here. It's much better. And when I'm doing healing, like I do the polarity therapy, I see a lot of, like, I get visuals for people, and a lot of times they have to do with their spiritual guidance. So I'll see like, a goddess over them or this or that, and usually like checks out, like they're usually into that type of thing that I'm seeing. Or like when I do the astrology, it takes a couple hours, but after a couple hours of really tuning into the chart, I start getting, it's like a puzzle, and it's like, oh, this is what they're here for. This is their mission. I see this, I feel this. And, and I try to convey some of that.
When we first came online, I'm calling in from California, Julia from Ireland, and Susan from New Mexico. I just kept trying to figure out, how do I know Susan? It was almost like I saw your face, and then I saw your website, and I thought, I know her. And it's not necessarily about the art, or, I worked with loving yoga and ama and ashram and kundalini, kirtan, but there's some other energetic, like this, we get to meet one another again. It's so heartwarming. Like, it may not have been in this lifetime is what I'm calling out, but there's this almost like energetic remembering, just tuning in, like meeting Julia too. For me, it was like,
Yes.
what just happened? What happened? Can you comment on what happened when you first tuned into Julia's energy, Susan? I'm going to put Julia on the spot, but what happened, Susan, to
No,
you?
I felt that too. I felt a connection, like a soul connection. I definitely felt that, like, wow, and I really felt like a lot of Palladian energy around Julia before I don't know her chart, but that well, or I just felt like, wow, like she's like really embodying cosmic energies. I felt very connected.
Thank you for mentioning that. So I have my ascendant natally in my natal chart is conjunct Pleiades, and you, Susan, you have South and North Node conjunct and opposite Pleiades. So
yes,
and between the two of you, I see you have also opposition to Hyades in several points in your chart, Susan. And Ursula, you have connection to Hyades too. And I'm so glad you, Susan, mentioned that you appreciate art and music, because we see that almost every time with person that has connection to Hyades stars. They have a deep connection to art, whether paint or music. So another beautiful validation how it really works. It's all there.
that's so interesting. And also, Ursula, don't you have Venus conjunct Neptune?
I do.
That's often also an artist. You're a musician. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of beauty, I would love to share your beautiful website. And Julia, does it look like I'm showing it well on your end? Can you see? But Susan's site is Desert Sky Healing and Astrology. So just this gorgeous image of sky, earth, desert, healing transmissions, and then allowing for the stars speak to help guide. What a perfect name, Susan DeLeo. Expand your awareness. I'm serious. Look at this. Expand your awareness. So you can learn a lot about Susan on her site, but I'm going to embarrass her a little bit by clicking on the about. Here we go. Here she is. Look at this. This is, I think, when you choose a practitioner, tuning into their energy and learning their path will help inform you of the decision to make, like which one. Now that there's over 20 plus of us, so tune into the energy that feels right. But just look at this picture of you, Susan. I'm going to really embarrass you by going, look, when I tune into this image, somehow for me, it just feels like home. There's a kind of, yes, goddess, but come journey with me. I think the idea of that shamanic journeying with an individual so tied into these galactic PowerPoints, the potential for channeling. And you called out, yes, the Seth books with Jane Roberts. So Seth, the Hyades, all the star families. I'm amazed and gladdened to see how you've created such a beautiful landing page. So it is art and healing in the way that aligned with your vibration. So if you didn't find it in Western medicine, it's fine. That kind of helped guide you to another place, and then tuning into the vibrations of art and music, getting an attunement with Susan DeLeo. It's kind of a cool way of looking at it.
That's so validating. It's amazing. Thank you.
The website, I have to say, really draws us in, and your energy feels very safe to me. I would feel so safe to talk about anything. Feeling of feeling safe. We're home. We're in good hands. Yeah, that's really there.
Obviously, completely embarrassed you, Susan, but
it's okay.
We're going to roll into this.
I'm not used to it. It's amazing. Like the community is so validating and confirming and affirming, of our connections, our higher connection, which we don't get out mostly in the world, right?
No, that's a really good point. In fact, if you know yourself to not be normal, and you've tried for years to make yourself fit in or try and pretend to be normal, well, if you sign up for Julia's practitioner's course And I know it's an investment, but I'm going to tell you, it's not just the material, it's the people you get to meet. It's almost like you don't even have to explain or defend yourself. You're in the deep end with people who are like you. And the funny thing is when we gather, like the questions and answer time or some of the classes, it's like the energy multiplies. And I began this chat talking about Dolores Cannon, and now I understand why, because she was talking about those 3 waves of volunteers. So this whole idea of sending out the light from our heart and then magnifying, but it does require us to work together on a certain level. It doesn't have to be in person, but it's more energetic. So I'm just going to make the shout out that if anyone listening is at all interested, start saving if you want to be part of this family. It really feels like a reunion. So your mind will be filled with amazing how to, and then there'll be this knowing yourself, because you'll go, oh, that's why, because I have this alignment. But the aha really is in our community, in our gathering of souls that reach across, as Julia says, the aeons. That was a new word for me, because I didn't even know if I'm saying it right. The aeons. We're going beyond the timeline into quantum. Any comments, dear goddesses?
Definitely. Yeah, the class, I mean, the course is incredible, and it's so comprehensive. There's so much in it, that speaks to so many avenues of this spirit wisdom. It's quite beautiful. I did find it challenging, I have to say. I was a little because like sometimes I like to want to just be on the right side of my brain. So there's a lot of left brain learning, but I felt like you do both. It's both. It's half and half really, or whatever. But it's quite beautiful. And I'm so grateful to have found this. So yeah, and I loved the videos. I loved the Q&As. Those were very helpful. I found the Q&As to be very helpful.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. I find for me personally, when we share so many of the topics related to different star races, star connections, the cosmic points, having the community there as a sounding board and receiving validation after validation after validation of what they live in their daily lives. There really are manifestations of these stars alignments in their lives in a very particular way. So seeing that within a community, hearing the echo of the concepts that we share in the course, for me, that's just invaluable. Whenever there is any doubt, not just for myself, but I believe for others as well, having a safe space where we can ask each other of other perspectives, it's just a dream come true for me. I'm so deeply grateful. Thank you for that.
There's so many online classes in spirituality to consider. Julia, how you've created yours, however, is more like an Aquarian model of synarchy and synergy. It keeps growing. It's like a living library, or a living table of like there's a place set for those who are here now and those who are to come. And so that's the beauty, because a lot of times you'll buy these classes where it's static, like, okay, so I'm going to learn X. And Susan, your point, it can be very overwhelming because there's so much, and learning how to give yourself grace, because there's no deadline. There's no push to become a practitioner. You don't even have to choose to be. But let me just say, I was shocked when I found some people are coming without any astrology background, which I thought, good for them. They're coming with Reiki. They're coming with flower essences. They're coming with their wanting to know themselves. So it's not a old model of, very linear. Instead, it's more like if you want to come and meet your family when you're ready, there's a place being set for you, no matter where you are on the spectrum of non-normal. I mean, really, it's starting to become more of this magnification. It's like it's soon becoming much more of a radiance of, all right, the early imaginal cells are the first waves, with the second and then third wave volunteers. And if this is new for you to hear the word volunteer, when we have Earth, where there's this agreement of non-participation from our spirit guides and archangels or team, unless it's invited in. So the way that I understand it is volunteers were asked across the cosmos who would like to come help Earth ascend by being incarnate. So it's instead of helping from the outside, they're helping from the inside. So for you, Susan, to have these cosmic points that's hyper galactic, huge, like Niagara Falls, huge, like magnetism, to be able to come and say, yes, I'm here to help. And if it resonates with you, come join me for a session.
Yeah, definitely. I did do a QHHT session here in New Mexico, and it was incredible. And I actually, one of my past encounters, whatever, I actually went to the Galactic Center, and that was amazing. I was just swirling in this incredible galactic energy. It was quite incredible.
Wow, that's an amazing validation. What an experience, what a blessing.
It was very powerful, the QHHT, yeah. And I wanted to say to people who are studying the course and might find it a bit overwhelming with all the info, I found it, when I started doing charts, is when I started really integrating it and kind of making it my own, and like realizing, oh, okay, like you say, Julia, it's a buffet, you know, you can kind of take what you want. You don't have to integrate everything. But when you start doing the charts, you know, like on friends and family, it's empowering. I found it.
That leads me to my next question, you know, and you are on this spiritual healing path for a while. Have you noticed certain pattern in terms of what types of clients you're attracting, what they're going through, or it's still quite a variety and there's no particular?
In general, you mean?
Yeah.
I did more polarity. I'm starting to do that again. I did that more a couple of years ago. So it's kind of hard to say, but definitely people who've had trauma and are working their way, you know, out of that. I seem to attract that. Maybe because my node's in Scorpio in the 8th house.
Sense. It would make sense if a lot of planets in your 7th house as well, and a lot of these cosmic points. So I presume relationships, trauma, and all the betrayals and hardships and deep wounds in relation to that. So that makes a lot of sense. Usually, our life shows us our gift basket of all the expertise and soul level skills and healing that we are meant to contribute with, kind of paid forward of everything we've been through. Those types of people come to us because you're an expert through experience or transmuting.
Yeah, and I have worked with addicts a lot too.
I presume you could act as a jumping lead. Is that how you say it for people? Because I feel that a lot of really deep level addictions are souls that are not used to being in a physical, and they're missing that deep, profound connection to source, to galactic center, super galactic center, and some of the substances give them a sense of that, although nothing compares to the real deal. But them being drawn to you, perhaps you can help them and be like a catalyst because it's within your field, all these powerful alignments. So it may be easier for them to experience it from within their own being, and that can be very transformational once they remember that actually they are connected all this time. They're just needed to experience this physical human body conditioning and then blast the trauma within DNA through consciousness, through higher awareness of remembering where they come from. So that makes a lot of sense.
That's cool. Yeah, people have said that I activate them. But, you know, that's kind of interesting. And addiction is a path to spirituality, I think. You know, it's like a lot of, because I mean, AA and, you know, all those 12-step programs, they're very big on spirituality, right? And looking at yourself, but then surrendering to something higher. And that's, I think, what a lot of addicts are trying to do, you know, trying to like soothe themselves with addiction, addictive things. But I mean, I think our culture is very plugged into a lot of addiction, especially with now, with like a lot of technology. It's easy to escape, to use that stuff. But it is interesting how we have to go through the darkness, to then discover the light a lot of times. And that's I guess that's why we're here, I mean, that's sort of this, there's a lot of polarity here. But eventually it's really wonderful to be able to connect to our higher selves. That seems to be the answer to so many things,
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for finding courage to walk through the darkness and towards the light, discovering your own, a beautiful sacred space, and now paying it forward, helping others do the same. Fortunate that you're here.
Thank you, ladies. It's been such a treat to get to meet you, Susan, and hear your journey and your words of advice for the others in the class, and to call out a signal for those who may be struggling with the light and the dark and trying to find out how to balance themselves. If you are interested, or if you know someone and would like to gift them a session with Susan, do consider sharing her website. Again, it's Desert Sky Healing and Astrology. Congratulations, Susan.
Thank you so much. You guys are so wonderful.
Thank you. Super well done.
Very well done. Many blessings.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.